Hello and welcome back to the Vegan Circus. Today I wanted to talk about homeschooling. We're a homeschooling family and I think it's really important for vegan families to consider homeschooling their kids. I do want to start out by acknowledging that I understand not everybody can homeschool. If you're not able to be a stay-at-home mom, then it's very difficult, obviously, when the kids are super young. And I say super young because now with the internet, kids can do online public homeschool for free, which is something that was not available to me when I was young. And my mom was a single parent with 3 young daughters and a multitude of various rescue animals. And there's no way she could have done it. If you can do it and you're vegan, I think that it's something that you need to consider. We know that your diet is directly responsible for the biggest part of your negative environmental impact. And we know that being vegan is going to cut out the worst part of your negative environmental impact. So if we're going to have kids, and if we're going to add to this human overpopulation problem that we have, then it's really, really, really important that we make sure that our kids are one of the good guys and do the least harm. But really selling a growing human being on the power of possessing the kind of character that allows you to live a little less conveniently than others, while also working to help those who can never do anything for you in return, is a daunting task. Kids are bombarded with ads everywhere we go, even in our homes, on our TVs, if you let them watch TV, which we do watch TV, we like our shows. And they're always trying to sell kids on the idea, obviously, that they need to buy more stuff. Consumerism, which is basically killing the planet. And they're trying to trap them into a mindset of what Wendell, one of my favorite authors, describes as a continuation of the early American fur trade, which was only the first establishment on this continent of a mentality whose triumph is its catastrophe. There were lots of animals here, and the fur trade triumphed by killing all the animals. And then once all the animals were gone, there was no more fur trade left. And so we want kids to grow up not thinking that in order to be happy, they need to be consumers. And, one of the problems with regular school is kids sit down and all they do is consume. They consume information and they don't really create anything. And while kids with smart parents might be able to survive all the ads unscathed, we make independent thought even more challenging by sending them to schools where they are taught not to question authority, that the teacher is the keeper of the almighty information, to swallow what she says and to spew it back to her. But probably most harmful is what another one of my favorite authors, John Taylor Gato, describes as suppressing an inner life. A child with a fully developed inner life would find it intolerable to sit for 6 hours a day locked away from the world in a sterile classroom surrounded by tiny mirrors of herself, being told what the world is instead of being allowed to go out and experience it herself and develop her own opinions about it. So with her inner life effectively suppressed, because kids that are bored in class make the job of the teachers very difficult. Bored kids are drilled into being consumers. So let's say that we do teach our kids that nothing must live at the expense of the source, which is obvious. If we don't want to be a parasite on this planet, sending our vegan kids to school somehow kind of seems cruel to me. We've opened their eyes, we've given them a dose of the red pill, and we sentence them to be locked up all day from the richness of the world and the beauty of life. And yeah, they may influence others being there, but by being outnumbered and overexposed and still young, I think that they're more likely to become angry at us for making them different. So homeschooling is a lot of work, but there's not a philosopher in our history that has not extolled how functioning according to our true nature is the key to inner peace, to true inner peace. And a major aspect of our nature is that we should be doing hard work, that we should be doing work, fulfilling work at least. And anything that's worth anything that's worth doing doesn't come easy. So, and what's more according to a mother's nature than working hard to develop her children into human beings that take care of the earth and that take care of their own inner lives. So what we want our kids to learn is that that human beings have a lot of power. We have so much power that, we have the Anthropocene named after us. We're a force of nature now, and we're a force of nature capable of taking down the entire planet and all life on Earth. So another author that I like, Ivan Illich, he talks about people believing in the effectiveness of power, but that people also need to see the disproportionately greater effectiveness of abstaining from its use, which is exactly what being vegan is. I know that it's a romantic notion, but I've always loved the idea of a philosopher king, like Marcus Aurelius, another one of my favorite authors. 2,000 years ago in Rome, he was a Roman emperor. And my goal is to raise my own children to be little philosopher kings. I mean, we're all kings. Human beings are all kings. We, like I said, we have so much power. I want them to question everything, to think freely, and to act according to their true nature, which I honestly believe is to use our great power for kindness. Sitting in a classroom is not... especially for children, especially for a little boy. I can't imagine sending my little Ronan, who's 5 years old, to sit all day in a classroom and try not to fidget and get yelled at by teachers because he's not able to focus on whatever boring thing she's trying to teach him. Schools teach the disconnectedness of everything. I mean, you're disconnected from the world when you're sitting in school. Homeschool teaches you. Homeschool doesn't teach you. Homeschool allows you to learn through living. We do spend some of our time sitting down at the desk and writing and doing things on paper and listening to reading and things like that. But the majority of our time is spent outside, digging for worms and in nature and at the beach and learning about the world through questions that my kids ask me because they're seriously interested in it. And factory schools, which is basically what it is, they teach the disconnectedness of everything. When you're in school, you're not living, you're learning. And the same thing for work. People that go to an office every day and spend all day in an office, if they're not happy, if that's what you love to do, then you are living. But most people consider, the time at work, their time they're working, and when they're out of work, they're really living. And this is wrong. We should be really living every moment of our lives. And I think that the only reason we are able to tolerate sitting in front of a computer in a fluorescent lit office room is because we spent 12 plus years sitting at our desks, being kind of groomed to tolerate that boredom, and being taught that life is separate from from work, and life is separate from learning, which is not according to our true natures. You know, kids in school, they're taught one subject, and then there's a bell, and they move to another classroom, and they're taught that they're learning a totally unrelated subject. When, you know, when you're doing homeschool, you learn that everything is connected, which is really important for us to kind of fix our inner lives, which have been damaged by the way society is running now, and to fix the larger problems in the world, which is up to us to do because we're the ones causing the problems. So we're taught that ecology and economy are two separate things, and one must thrive at the expense of the other. We're taught that the health of our bodies and the health of, you know, our environment and our earth are two separate things. Like being in school is going to dilute the vegan ethics of equality and empathy, independent thought, health, applying our principles to the way we think and live and act, compassion and empathy, living responsibly, and causing the least harm. And most importantly, the strength to do all these things despite the ridicule of the masses and the overwhelming persuasion of corporations and their advertisements. While there are just as many reasons to homeschool your child as there are to be vegan, and many of them do run along the same lines of reasoning and philosophy, every parent is also concerned about bullying and teasing, and this is something that you know, kids will have to be exposed to at school when they're vegan. I know a lot of parents make the argument that kids need to learn how to deal with bullies and teasing and this and that, and you know, to a certain degree, yes. My kids were exposed to that in their camp, but you know, also this is another reflection of how schools are like jails, in the sense that, you know, if I'm being bullied outside or even in my workplace, I can leave, I can walk away, I can never come back if I want. But kids in school are stuck with bullies. They can't leave, there's no escape. And, you know, where else is that like that other than in jail? And that doesn't reflect the real world. In the real world, you have choices when someone is treating you wrong. And, you know, I don't think it's the right thing to teach, especially girls, that, you know, when someone is treating you badly, that you have to stay, that there's nothing you can do. So before I go, I do want to mention that I know many teachers, and they are great people, not to pull a Donald Trump here. They really are great people, and most of them really care about their students, but they do feel that they're stuck in the same kind of prison culture that the kids are in. There's not much they can do to help individual kids. They're given the curriculum, they have to get it done, and you know, if it doesn't work for one kid, there's not much that they can do to. They don't have the time or the resources to focus on each individual learning style and helping each kid through what they need to get through what they need to get through. And, you know, I just can't understand why I would want to put that responsibility on someone else when, you know, when I can do it, when I can help my kids to learn in the most compassionate and the most, I would say, the best way for them. I know I didn't address kind of the particulars of our homeschool, like the books that I use and the curriculum I like, and how we kind of plan our days, which we don't really. And I would like to do that in another vlog, but I wanted to talk today about why I think the most compassionate choice for your own children is to keep them out of school and to teach them yourself. And, you know, to learn yourself along with them and to let the world teach them. When we're out during the day, it's sad. We see, you know, we're out at the beach during the day or on hikes, and you see people, but it's just middle-aged people, you know, younger middle age and upper middle age, and you don't see any kids and you don't see any old people. We have our kids locked up from the world in school. We have our old people locked up from the world in old folks' homes. And we've cut things off. You know, kids are meant to be taught by our elders. This is why human beings live for so long. The knowledge, we've cut off the knowledge that that our kids can get from our grandparents and from our older people. And this is just another way that we are depriving ourselves from living the richest life that we can live and that we're meant to live. So to summarize, if you are brave enough to be vegan and to raise your kids vegan, then you're brave enough to homeschool your kids. And as Wendell wrote, when you keep responsibility for educating your children, you keep your children. And the last quote I want to end with is, "Beauty will save the world." That's Dostoevsky. Okay, take care. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments, or if you want to share your own homeschool experience, please feel free to do so. All right, take care till next time.